overcome them. Barely tear my eyes away. All you have is your fire. DC is so in love with the narrative. And the place you need to reach. He's obsessed with winning over the hearts of people. I haven't done all these things.
What's going on, good people? This is the Common Man Nate Lewis back with a brand new comment take. It is now officially July 29th, 2017, commonmanpodcast.com. And folks, the very first article I wrote for commonmanpodcast.com was about this fight coming up later tonight. Daniel Cormier defending the UFC light heavyweight title against Jon Jones. It feels like we've been talking about this fight for over 2 years, and we have. And finally, it is upon us. UFC 214, live tonight on pay-per-view. Biggest UFC card of the year. I am so excited. I'm ready to go. I've been waiting for this fight for 2 years, and we're finally getting it. Terribly, terribly excited. This is a preview show. We'll go over all the fights on the main card, a couple of the ones on the prelims and UFC Fight Pass. I'll give you my thoughts, who I think is going to win. This is a big card, and we're going to start with the preliminary card that's going to be on UFC Fight Pass. And the opening fight listed, Josh Berkman, Drew Dauber. One of the reasons why this fight intrigues me is Josh Berkman at this point. I cannot pick Josh Berkman. He's been in a shit ton of fights. I honestly thought he retired. He's competing here. He's on the UFC Fight Pass portion of the card. He's opening the show. I cannot pick Berkman here. This may go decision. I doubt it will. I think this ends early. If you're on any type of DraftKings or anything like that, I would avoid Josh Berkman like the plague. Next fight, real quick. Kailin Curran and Alexandria Albu. This is an intriguing fight because depending on what you believe about fight records, Alexandria Albu is 6-0, although there's been a lot of disputes on if some of her fights should count, if her fights have taken place. But obviously she's a very attractive young lady. So was her opponent, Kailin Curran, who's had a bunch of fights in UFC. Definitely, gives it her all, but she's come out on a losing end quite a bit. This fight's basically, hey, we got to give these ladies something to do. They're both pretty. We're putting them on the card. Now, I haven't seen much of Albu actually fight. She's very much a ground fighter. Kailin can kind of go on all aspects of fighting. Doesn't seem to be particularly well-versed or specialized in any area. So this fight could be interesting. This fight could be very boring. We'll see how it goes. The winner, obviously, they can make a claim to maybe fight someone much higher in the division, but not too much at stake here. Put a gun to my head, Kailin's got a bunch more experience fighting in the UFC than Albu does, but whether I take her 6-0 for granted, she has fought in the UFC once, got a win. I'm picking Albu in this fight. Wouldn't be surprised if it goes either way. Wouldn't be surprised if it's an adult fight. We'll see what happens. Now, the first fight I want to get to on the prelim card itself, which, by the way, this card, or this portion of the card, is not on FX. It's not on Fox Sports 1. It's not on Fox Sports 2. It's on Fox, or let me make sure I get this right. Fox Sports FXX. What the fuck is that? I have no clue. Never heard of the channel. You all know I'm a cord cutter, so I'll be going to the Fox Sports app, and hopefully I'll be able to find this and watch this portion of the card. To me, if you're UFC, look, if for whatever reason you can't get on your usual FS1, you're not able to get on FX, you should really be plugging this channel for the past 4 weeks, the past 4 months. Whenever you found out that this was going to happen, this should have been made a bigger deal. I, honest to God, did not know about this until I watched the weigh-ins, the official weigh-ins on Fight Pass. It's the first time I heard about it. They're going to be on FXX. Whatever. I'll figure it out. Most of you who are not cord cutters like me, apparently, I will say this. UFC did a great job during the weigh-ins trying to tell you what channel to find this on based on your cable provider. But what I will tell you is, if you have the Fox Sports app, If you have a cable provider, just go download the app, mirror it on whatever TV you got, whether you're using a laptop, an iPhone, Google Cast. It's so much easier to do it that way. You don't want to miss this prelim card that's on FXX. That rant aside, the very first fight I want to talk about is actually Aljamain Sterling and Renan Barão. This is at a catchweight of 140. Both of these guys have competed in the bantamweight 135 division. Barão unsuccessfully fought at featherweight at 145. So this is a catchweight. Now, in the weigh-ins themselves, Aljamain came in at 139.5. Renan Barão was at 140. I don't necessarily see there being a gigantic size difference, but this fight would be very intriguing. And this is one of those fights that, if it was on if it was on a fight night, this could easily co-main. This could easily main event a fight night, and that tells you about the actual how stacked this card is. Now, Renan has not had the best of luck since losing his title to TJ Dillashaw. I guess back in 2014, 2015. And he had the incident where he was unable to make 135 for their rematch, and he's been up to 145. Didn't look like a world beater. Got the win, but didn't look like a world beater at that time. Aljamain's really just coming off his loss to Brian Caraway. But before that was seen as someone who was very much going to be in line for a title shot. Now, it was his first chance at a big-time opponent. Didn't work out for him there, but I'm a big fan of Aljamain. I'm not sure where we're getting from Renan Barão if we're going to go back to the guy that was undefeated for so long. It just looked like a monster in a bantamweight division. I'm going to go with Aljamain here. I think it goes decision. It goes the distance. I don't. If there's going to be a stoppage, it's going to be Renan. Renan's going to catch something there. I just don't see it that way. I see it going to decision. I see Sterling getting the nod there, and I'm not sure if he then goes back to 135 regularly. If he then wants to try to make the move to 145. I would stay at 135 and just go from there. Easier route to get to the title shot. He's a good size of the weight class. Gets the win here. Stay in the bantamweight division 135. Now, the headliner for the FXX preliminary card is Ricardo Lamas and Jason Knight. Now, these are the fights I like. Ricardo Lamas definitely has a name. He's been towards the top of the UFC featherweight division at the 145-pound division. And you have Jason Knight, who's been really coming along here lately. He's really been racking up some wins, looking really good in his fights here. This fight is so tricky for me. Do you go with the veteran? Do you go with the younger guy who's been tearing up the division? If I had to pick this on DraftKings, I would go with Lamas, because I would think he would come in at a much lower, it would cost you less points. But looking over everything, you guys are dead even all across the board. Sports betting lines, fantasy draft lines, even though the opinions of people who I talk to on a regular basis, this is a dead even fight. I'm going to go with my first thought. I'm going to go with Lamas here. Would not be surprised me if Knight gets a big win, and it would be a big win over a veteran in the division. Should be an excellent fight. Good fight to actually head up the or main event the prelims on free TV on FXX. Now at this point we're going to move on to the main card, the pay-per-view card. This is stacked. First fight, you have Jimmy Manuwa versus Volkan. Let me just stop. I have Jimmy winning this fight. If I'm wrong, it's only because I really have not heard of his opponent that much. I may have seen his fights. Name went over my head. There's some people listening to this right now and will probably go, "Oh, what about his fight with so?" I don't remember. I'm sorry. But Jimmy Manuwa is the guy who's probably, with this win, will fight the winner of the main event. This is a showcase fight for him. He was put on this card, as Dana White said in the press conference the other day. He was put on this card for a reason. Basically, he was put on this card in case DC didn't make weight and the fight couldn't go on, if he got hurt, if Jones ran into another woman or got popped with dick pills again. It's a bunch of reasons, but he was there to step in and make sure that this was going to be a title fight. So he's on the card. If he wins, there shouldn't be a doubt in anyone's mind that he'll be the #1 contender and will be fighting the winner of this fight. The only nuance to that and I'll get to this a little bit later, is if DC wins this fight. We'll get to that later. Now at this point, I wish y'all could see me now. Maybe I should have did this one as a video podcast, but I'm gonna put my hands up next to the microphone. I got my Birdman hand rub going on right now because this next fight, oh, this is a good one. If this card was not 3 title fights on one card, this would main event. I'm not talking about main event a fight night, even though it clearly would. This would main event a pay-per-view. Let me get my Birdman hand rub back on because we got Donald Cerrone versus the former UFC welterweight champion and Robbie Lawler. This fight, oh, I can't wait for this fight. These guys stand, they bang, they throw hard, they throw combinations, skilled. Both guys, great. Both guys can definitely take the fight to the ground. Both guys have had submissions. Robbie's a little bit more of the ground and pound type. Cerrone can catch you in just about anything. Ah! I can spend all day trying to break down this fight. I can talk about how if they stand in the pocket and trade, that favors Lawler. Lawler's the type that will bite down on his mouth guard. He's swinging. You can hit him over and over, and he's going to zombie walk right in front of you. On that same note, though, Robbie has been put down. Woodley put him down when he beat him for the title. Nate, everybody's bringing up Nick Diaz from years ago when he fucking flatlined Robbie. Way back when Robbie was supposed to be the up and coming guy that was going to take over for the UFC. Robbie has been put down. Cerrone is so beautiful with his technique. We've seen him throw kicks and following up with right hands that lead to the head kick. Cerrone's a guy that just, he don't give a fuck. Cerrone's there to have a great fight. Cerrone's not there to try to win on points. Cerrone's going for a finish each and every time. Cerrone don't give a fuck. Cerrone has been bullied into his defeats. People have questioned his toughness. People have questioned his desire once he gets hit in the mouth. People have questioned. There's a lot of questions when it comes to his losses. His losses have seemed to come against really high caliber guys. Just that fight that puts him over the cliff. And you saw with the Dos Anjos fight. I don't want to say somebody quit, but it happened, and then it leaves you questions about Cerrone. So both guys kind of have question marks when it comes to their losses. But one thing you cannot deny is they're world class fighters. This fight is going to be fucking nuts. I cannot wait for this. And there's a lot of people complaining, this fight hasn't gotten a lot of publicity. But when you got a press conference and you put all these guys from the main card on the stage, guess what? All the attention is going to Jones and Cormier. So, and neither one of these guys, Cerrone cut some funny interviews, and Lawler's got these awesome sound bites, but these guys aren't promo guys. They're get in the octagon and fucking go guys. So, that's kind of why you haven't seen a major promotion for this. This could easily be fight of the night. This could be fight of the year. This could be fight of our lifetimes. I'm excited for this fight. I'm going with Lawler here to win this fight just simply because he's been fighting top caliber guys for years. Even though there's been questions about his chin, Cerrone does have knockouts, does have complete knockouts on his resume, but typically this from accumulation of things. And Robbie's so tough, former champion. He's been the only caveat about Robbie Lawler here is he has had a lot of time he's not been in a cage, and there's the stuff that's been going on with Matt Hughes, and him and Robbie are really, really tight. So maybe that will make me a little hesitant towards picking Lawler, but I'm gonna pick Lawler here. I think it goes all 3 rounds. We may get a decision. We may get. I don't really see a stoppage here unless stoppage comes. I think it's coming from Lawler, but I think it's gonna be just an exciting 3 rounds. I really, really cannot wait for this fight. And that takes us into our first of our 3 title fights. I have so much. There's so much I can say about Cyborg, and I've done shows about Cyborg. I've heard stuff from Cyborg's team and Cyborg stands who want to come at me anytime I disrespect Cyborg or I don't acknowledge her as the greatest fucking thing ever for women's MMA. But look, here's. let me bull on all that real quick. So we got Cyborg versus Tanya Evinger. Tanya Evinger, who is the Invicta current, and I don't know if what's going to happen next, but as of right now, she is the Invicta Bantamweight champion at 135. This fight is for the women's featherweight championship at 145. Now, originally, this fight was supposed to be Cyborg versus Megan Anderson, who is the current Invicta 145-pound champion, which that fight would have been intriguing for a lot of reasons. Obviously, Cyborg never lost the Invicta 145-pound championship. Megan won the fight to become the champion based off Cyborg then going to fight in the UFC at the catchweights that she was doing. So it's kind of, in a way, a non-official Invicta undisputed just fight to just crown an undisputed champion at 145. That didn't happen. Megan pulled out for reasons. And so Tanya stepped up. Now, I've been a fan of Tanya Evinger ever since her tryout for, I believe it was Tough 18 with Ronda Mishin Tate. Immediately after she lost that fight, I go online, I'm trying to learn some more info about the ladies that are in the house, and you read about Tanya, and there's been times where she's walked into fights and maybe she's had some outside distractions and things like that. But after that loss, I believe she lost to I want to say it was Raquel Pennington. I might be wrong there, who she lost to in the house. But ever since that, she's gone on a fucking tear in Invicta, just beating up everybody, just looking like a world beater at this point. There was that misstep in her, not her last title fight, but the one before that, where there was some controversy there. She avenged that loss right immediately after. Tanya's looking real good. I want to root for Tanya so much. She's fucking hilarious on Twitter. She's fucking hilarious on Instagram. She's fucking hilarious on Twitter, and she's fucking hilarious on Facebook. I follow her on both. Really cool person. Her stuff with her and Panny, I think I kind of mentioned that before on the show. Wasn't too big on that, but love Tanya. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't see how she wins this fight, because everyone has a puncher's chance. We all saw Matt Serra knock out George St. Pierre, or put him down George St. Pierre. We all seen Buster Douglas put down Mike Tyson. Holly had kicked the shit out of Ronda into basic retirement. Like we've seen these upsets. So I don't want to say there's no chance of Tanya winning. However, I really don't see an area in which Tanya may have an advantage over Cyborg. And a lot of people are probably, if you're new to Cyborg, if you're new to kind of the women's MMA area, you might just go, well, Tanya could take her down. Well, Cyborg's a fucking black belt in jiu-jitsu. Now, she doesn't get to display it a lot because she's basically punching everybody the fuck out. But the girl can go on the ground. Obviously, Cyborg's known for her striking. The clinch game would favor Cyborg too, with those devastating knees that she throws. So I don't see a single aspect where Tanya would be better than Cyborg. But what makes this fight a little bit more intriguing is if you look at Cyborg's last, 4 or 5 opponents, really dating back to Marlos Cohen, which is the last time Cyborg has gone to a decision, the level of competition she's faced has not been nearly as high as what you'll see in Tanya tonight. And maybe that coincided with the fact that Tanya is just, she's got nothing to lose. She's got nothing to lose. She's not in the UFC, at least, full time. She's not in the UFC full time. She may be after this fight. This fight wasn't originally scheduled to take place. Cyborg's a heavy favorite. Everyone says this is Cyborg's division. All the stars are aligning for a major upset here. And so, with that said, she's my girl. I've picked her on every platform. I've made predictions. I am going to go with Tanya Evinger. How? I don't fucking know. Don't know. But you know what? If she ends up winning, I look like a goddamn genius, because I'm the only one on any platform, podcast or your big shows like your Figure 4 Daily or Wrestling Observer or any of the major podcasts that cover MMA. No one's picking her, so I look like a genius if I get this one right. So we'll see what happens. Should be a very interesting fight. Could be a very quick fight. We'll find out later tonight. Then in the co-main, the UFC welterweight championships on the line. Tyron Woodley, Damian Maia, in a fight This is gonna catch me some heat with a lot of people, and for those who know me, you don't fully understand what's going to come out next because I have to talk about it when it comes to Tyron Woodley. People really hate Tyron Woodley. They think he makes everything about race. He's whiny. He's ducking people. And while I might not be the hugest Tyron Woodley fan, some of the shit he gets from MMA fans is fucking ridiculous. It truly is. Now, do I see everything the way Tyrone does? No, but I'm also not privileged or privy to, what goes on behind the scenes in UFC. You know what I'm saying? I'm not privy to discussions or whispers or anything Tyrone might be hearing to put him in the mindset of they're not looking to promote me because I'm a black athlete and I speak my mind. I couldn't tell you if he's completely right, couldn't tell you if he's wrong. I don't know. But when the biggest criticism I had is after Woodley won the title, he knocked Robbie Lawler the fuck out. You would think that would shut a lot of people up. And what he said after that was, hey, I've been fighting for years. I'm ready for money fights. I want to fight George St. Pierre. I want to fight Nick Diaz. I want to fight whatever was going to make him money. And to me, it's like, great. He's calling out fights. These fights have some intrigue to him. Might be good fights. And the backlash was, well, he's ducking Wonder Boy. He's ducking this guy. He should shut up and fight whoever The first fight the UFC offered him was Wonder Boy Thompson at 205. He fought Wonder Boy Thompson. He then said he thought he won the fight, which I thought he won too. And said, okay, now George is coming back. I want to fight George. What's Nate want to do? What does Nick want to do? What's this guy want to do? Oh, well, he's too scared to rematch with Wonder Boy. UFC put a contract in front of Woodley, said, you're fighting Wonder Boy. Woodley signed the contract. Woodley beat Wonder Boy in one of the worst fucking fights I've ever seen in my life. Oh, well, now Tyrone won't fight Maya. UFC put a contract in front of Woodley and said, you're fighting Maya. He's fighting Maya here on this show. At what point, people, are you going to give this man a little bit of credit for not ducking anyone, still doing what Boss and Massa wants him to do, and going out there and getting wins? Oh, well, I don't like because he talks race. Fuck you! Sorry, I hate to tell you this, but there is race in a lot of stuff. May not be in everything. It's in a lot of shit. And if that bothers you so much, maybe you need to check your balls. Now, I spent all that time talking all this stuff about Tyrone. I haven't even talked about this fight yet. This fight is very, very interesting. Very interesting. Everyone knows Tyrone's got KO power, devastating power. Maya is a fucking jiu-jitsu wizard. Is there something bigger than a wizard? Is there something like more powerful than a wizard? Because that's what Maya is in jiu-jitsu. Woodley is an all-American wrestler, so we know he can take the fight to the ground. The matchup on the ground seems intriguing, but it seems like that would obviously favor Maya. Maya's a terrible striker. Woodley obviously excels at it, but he might be intimidated to really try to bring the fight in to make it close. I picked Woodley to win this fight. Maya winning would not shock me. Maya winning may be boring. It may be sudden. It may be awesome. This fight, probably next to the Curran and Albu fights, one of those fights where I'm just like, dude, this fight can end so many ways. I'm not sure what's going to happen here. I'm giving the champ his due. I think he's more well-rounded than Maya is. But, man, if it gets to the ground and it's a scary, scary thought unless Woodley's able to be on top and throwing some punches. So we'll see what happens. It should be a very intriguing fight. I'm picking Woodley. I don't think this goes to decision. I think he stops him maybe early third round. And I know the running joke is that Woodley gasses in the later rounds. So he blows his load way, way early. Even though he caught Wonder Boy with that flurry in the fourth round, people still give him that knock. There is some truth to that. I think there is some truth to that in terms of Woodley's gas tank. That said, I still think he kind of ends the fight third round-ish. Think he gets to stop. And then can he fucking fight someone that's going to make him some money? Because you look at it at that point, wins the title, beats Lawler, beats Wonder Boy the first time, I think. beats Wonderboy the second time, and then fights Maya. All these are other than the Robbie fight, all these are co-headlines. Sorry, for a guy who has exciting fights, other than that second Wonderboy fight. Very marketable. Has some stroke in Hollywood. I mean, everybody knows about Straight Outta Compton. He has a role in that. He has the tools to be a media superstar. So I think if he wins this fight, it's time for the UFC to bank on that and maybe put a little bit behind this guy. Should be a fun fight. We'll see. And we have to get to the main event. Jon Jones, Daniel Cormier. There's not too much more we need to talk about. We can talk about all the funny shit in the press conferences. We can talk about Jones and his perpetual usage of cocaine. We can talk about DC and what went wrong in the first fight, and talking about DC and all the harsh comments he had. Let me stop there for a second. I need to go back and find out which reporter asked this, but the reporter tried to frame it as you're supposed to be this role model, DC, but yet you're talking about Jon Jones is going to tell you. Like, are you trying to make a stand here? Do you not know who we're talking about with these two guys? Don't fucking like each other. This isn't a gimmick. This isn't Mayweather and McGregor, where it's like, yeah, maybe there's a little bit there they don't like, but they're fluffing shit up and they're doing this to sell a fight. These two motherfuckers hate each other. There is no gimmicks with this at all. This is no trying to sell a fight. These motherfuckers don't like each other. And it's fair fucking game if they want to go back and forth. And if Jones got the win in the first fight, which he did, and Cormier feels like, oh man, I had an off night, I wasn't expecting this, and this happened, but I'm out here now. I'm the champion. I won the championship in a fight. I defended the title. This guy keeps fucking up. He's fucked up all these chances we've had to fight. And people love him. Look at what he's done. Like, I get where DC's coming from. I also kind of get where Jones is coming from. Jones is youngest champion in UFC history. He's got a murderous row of victories. He's undefeated. I don't give a fuck what his record says. He's undefeated. And he was young. He was rich early. Partied his ass off. Maybe he's a changed guy. Maybe he's not. You never know, depending on what fucking day of the week it is. So I get where his frustration now comes with DC, where it's just like, you know what? I'm the fucking best. Yeah, I fucked up, but who the fuck are you? You're a guy that I punked out and made look like a bitch. I get it. I get where both sides are coming from. And before anyone says I'm a DC hater, I'm a Jones hater for what's going to come out next, I wanted that part to be said, is that I get where Jones is coming from. He's fucking awesome. He's in the GOAT conversation, no doubt. I am not a Jon Jones fan. When he fought Shogun and won the title, I'm just, man, cool. This awesome, unique, humble black guy comes in here, beats one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time, youngest champion, just seems really cool. He goes on and has these fights, and you hear Rashad talk about, well, Jones is a little fake. You hear Rampage, Jones is a little fake, and you start to hear those whispers. They start to sound, well, the one thing I hate in this fucking world is a fake black person. I hate that. If you're an asshole, be a fucking asshole. If you're a humble guy, be humble. If you're a dude that's, hey, I do this for these events, but at the same time, I'm out here riding dirty in these streets. I'm slinging cocaine. I'm slicing it up, cooking it, whatever. Be that dude. Don't get on TV and profess your love for Christ and all that. And meanwhile, you over here blowing fucking cocaine off of strippers' asses. Don't be that dude. You know what I'm saying? And then don't be the type of guy that when you get called out on it, calls everybody else pussies. It's bothered me for the longest, and I really turned on Jones during the fight with Glover and his fucking sticking fingers into the optical sternum of other motherfuckers, and then tells people to stop crying about it. Nigga, that's illegal. It was illegal back then. It's illegal now. It's bullshit. So I am picking DC for this fight. Why am I picking DC to win this fight? One, because I'm not a Jon Jones fan. Two, there is so much on Daniel Cormier in this fight. It's not just the fact that you're fighting for the title. It's not even for the fact that you're fighting for a title that people say is a paper title, which that's bullshit. Again, he won the title, beating Rumble Johnson. He's defended the title. That man's a fucking champion. Respect that man. It's not even that he's fighting a guy who he truly does not like. All this stuff is on him. He's been wanting this fight for 2 years. The last fight left him so devastated. He was crying, and Jones loves to bring this up. He was crying in the locker room afterwards. DC's been a competitor for better part of 2 decades, probably even close to 3 decades. Just a competitor at heart. And he's been a winner everywhere at every level. And this one guy who he feels doesn't even deserve everything everything was handed to Jones, and he didn't appreciate it, and he threw it all away. And that's the guy that beat him. That eats at his heart so much that I cannot see him after basically this has been going on for better part of 3 years. And Jones finally gets not fucked up enough in his last 14, 16 months, and for DC to go out there and lose. It would suck on so many levels, not just for me, but for DC as well. Combine that with the fact that now Jones has been not in an octagon fighting for, at this point, it would be 15 months, maybe 16 months. And the last time Jones fought, he was coming off of, I believe now, that was 13 months. He was away from the octagon, and he did not look like the world beater. Now, he clearly won the fight. It was never really in question. But you can tell that rust, maybe the insecurity about coming back, maybe it's because of he was doing the powerlifting at that time. All those things played into making Jones look human. And so, here we are, July 29th. Jones back in the octagon. After all this time and everything that's been said, everything he's gone through, he come out here and loses? Would not shock me at all. And I know all the sports books, all the commentators, all the fantasy drafts, Jones is a favorite, and he should be. He's undefeated. He's in his prime. DC winning shouldn't shock anybody. And DC winning is what's good for the UFC. Daniel Cormier wins this fight. Guess what, folks? We got to have a trilogy. And as I said at the beginning of this show, this is the biggest card the UFC has had this year. Go back and look. The only 2 pay-per-views that pop out in my mind is the Stipe pay-per-view and the pay-per-view with Holly Holman GDR. There's been no show that has done 400,000 buys. This is no longer 2016 where you had, you had 196, 200, 202, 205, all do over 1 million buys. This isn't 2015 where Ronda gave you a 900,000 buy show and a 1 million buy show, and Conor gave you 800,000 and a million buy show, and you had Jones and Cormier, and you had Anderson Silva give you 600,000. Those days are over. Those days are over. And we have not had the big show this year. And Conor's going to go do his thing, fighting Mayweather. That's going to be a monster show, no doubt. That's not UFC. That's the money team. That's Mayweather's. That's Showtime. That's them. That's getting that bread. This is a fight that UFC needs. And it kind of sucks at this point because, everyone's talking like, look, Mayweather and Conor is like 3 weeks away. That's $100 show. And here you are 3 weeks before that saying we give you $60 for the show. This show may not do the best numbers. But DC wins this fight, you have even more to add to this story leading into a third fight, which I would suspect would happen maybe in New York, Madison Square Garden, that show in November. Both guys kind of come out unharmed. How big would that be for that show? Huge for that show. And Dana's, he'll Dana it up and say he wants to get Conor on that show, or maybe for the December show, we'll see. But this is so important that if Jones wins this fight, you unless it's some controversial shit, you almost can't do another fight, at least right away. DC's getting up in age, and you basically kill off a huge opportunity to have one more big pay-per-view this year when you're scraping for money, that you're on the phone with Brock Lesnar. I'm sure they're ringing up Ronda every fucking minute. The whole George St. Pierre thing, which Dana said wouldn't happen. Yeah, now they need him. We need GSP. We need the money. We need the buys. Now, if this fight goes to decision, I don't want to put. I don't. If it's a close fight, goes decision, and you in your heart of hearts think Jon Jones won, don't be surprised if DC gets a nod. I'm not. Hey, yep. Don't call me conspiracy comment man. I am not conspiracy comment man. Would not shock me though, because the money will be in the third fight. And folks, that is UFC 214. I believe the Fight Pass card starts at 6 Central Time. Let's see if I can find that out real quick. I'm pretty sure it is. Pay-per-view always starts at 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock on the West Coast. Biggest show of the year, folks. And I'm excited. Hope you're excited. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'll be back with a post-fight show. I have no idea what capacity or how well that show would be. But before I move on from that, let me give a couple real quick plugs. There will be a huge thread about this show in the Facebook group MMA Drogs. That's MMA DROGGS. Hit up there. That's the site I'll go to for all my MMA news. A bunch of cool people in there. We have a pick'em contest where we're trying to pick the main card fights. And as of last week, I was in first place. I've kind of slipped a little bit. I've opened my mouth about DC. So I'm slipping down a little bit in terms of the rankings, but check it out. It's an awesome group. And in that group, you will find my former co-host. I shouldn't say former co-host. Just haven't had them on in a while. But Louise and AJ, they're all in there. There is another, and I'm trying to find the actual link to it to see if I can give you guys the link. But they put out their own podcast, MMA Cast. Hashtag MMA Cast. It's at horrorphila.com. Just head over to the Facebook group. I'm actually going to go ahead and pin it towards the top. You guys can check it out. They give their thoughts on the upcoming fight tonight, their opinions, their views. So a lot of cool content there, a lot of good people there. Come check it out. And with that, folks, I got to get out of here. I got some shit to do before all this starts up. Have fun with the shows. Drink responsibly. Peace and chicken grease.